Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam and this is a Petite Plum Crape Myrtle. This is the beautiful, long flowering dwarf Petite Plum Crape Myrtle. As you can see, this dwarf crepe myrtle next to me over the last 15 years or so has actually reached about 8 feet in height. This is a very easy variety to keep in the 4-foot range, 4 to 5 feet. Wouldn't be a problem at all. I've got some space here, so I've just kind of let it go to see actually how tall it would eventually get. Petite Plum is best in zone 7 to 9, definitely worth a try in 6B or 10A. In general, crepe myrtles are very fast growing. This variety, on the other hand, is definitely not as fast, but it still will put on over a foot of growth in a single season. Crepe myrtles are definitely sun-loving plants. This area I have this in used to be quite a bit more sunny than it is now, and this plant's really stretching out quite a bit more every season now. I don't think it's as happy as it originally was. You really want to get 6 hours or more of direct sun on these. I have this plant right near the corner of my foundation. It makes a perfect little corner plant like that. It would look great mass planted. If you had a white crepe myrtle that stayed even smaller than this one, that would look fantastic together. There's a variety called a coma that actually gets about the same height and size that's white. Would look great with this plant as well. Of course, the primary feature on these Petite Plum Crape Myrtles is these beautiful purple clusters of flowers. This one's just getting started now. Every single limb is absolutely loaded with buds. It's opened a little more up there on the top. It's really quite beautiful. Most of the other crepe myrtles end up with some sort of exfoliating bark at the bottom or red bark, that kind of thing. This one does have that. It actually has the exfoliating bark, but you're really just not going to see it as much because the plant grows as more of a shrub. So this one is primarily grown for these clusters of purple flowers, which are persistent through the whole summer, and the fact that it's easily controlled at a much smaller height than other varieties. I've included videos in the description of this video for planting woody shrubs or trees. Don't really have to worry much about crepe myrtles at all. Just don't cover anything that wasn't covered when you purchased it. Don't mulch up too high on the trunk. Don't put it in a place that's gonna stay wet all the time. If you're in an area that gets regular rainfall, you're really not gonna have to water your crepe myrtles very much after they're established. But this one's in bloom, it's early July. If it got dry right now, these flowers would probably quit on me. So this is a time of year that I am going to keep a close eye on it. We've gotten plenty of rainfall in my area this year, but there are other years that in June or July, it can get very dry. And at that point, I just drag a water hose over to this thing, put it at the base of it, and let it run until it saturates this whole area, and then let it become slightly dry again. I fertilized this crepe myrtle in the late winter or early spring. It was about mid-March, I think, when I fertilized it. And I used a fertilizer that was just a 3 to 4 month slow release. Really doesn't matter all that much what brand you're using. One time at that time of year is perfect. We want the fertilizer to start to run out by midsummer so that it can go into dormancy naturally. Petite Plum grows like a shrub, and I'm gonna treat it like a shrub when I prune it and just prune across the whole thing. I'm really not worried about creating any kind of multi-trunk look or anything like that because it really is gonna stay kind of shrub formed and have foliage all the way to the base. This winter, I'm going to take this plant down to about 3 feet. I'm going to wait till late winter. I don't do it in the early winter, maybe March in my area when the worst of the winter is over. I'm really going to cut this thing hard. It grows about a foot and a half before it blooms, so it has to get bigger every year for it to flower. So I'm just going to take this thing, cut it in half this coming winter. We don't get a lot of pests on crepe myrtles. There are some Japanese beetles on these right now, if you can see that. And they will do some damage to the foliage. Right here's an example of that, where they've just torn these leaves up quite a bit. I don't worry about it. They're gone about as quick as they show up, maybe 2 weeks and they're gone. So I just don't do any kind of spraying for that. The main issue that I have on these crepe myrtles is they are susceptible to aphids in the spring, and they'll get on the flower buds and they'll get on the newest foliage, most tender foliage as these leaf out. And their secretions will get on the foliage, and a mold will grow on that called sooty mold, and it'll turn these leaves black in time. I didn't have any aphids on this one this year, so I'm not going to, doesn't look like I'm going to have to worry about it, but you'll see some stickiness on the leaf, and then that sooty mold will form after that. And it really hurts the plant because it blocks out the sun on those leaves. So taking care of the aphids in the spring is important. Crepe myrtles are considered very deer resistant. So what are you waiting for? Even you can grow the beautiful, long flowering dwarf Petite Plum Crape Myrtle. Thank you for watching my video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Also, comment below with any questions you have about crepe myrtles. Thanks again.